Roger. Hey, congratulations on your new film, Beautiful Wedding.
Thanks, man.
I want to get out of the way that I'm a fan of your original film, Cruel Intentions. So
Bless you for that. Thank you very much.
that that was a mark on my generation. I do have to admit. But tell us about the idea that you came up with for a beautiful wedding. Where did you get the idea to write this story?
Well, it is based on a on this book series, and but when we were in post on Beautiful Disaster, um, my bosses from the studio, they came into the editing room, and we had tested very well. The audiences were loving it, and they said we want a sequel. And I said, "Oh, cool, great! I love these characters." They said, "But we want to shoot it this October." And I said, "But it's May." That makes no sense. That means, doing the math, I have to have a script by June. Um, we can't get, yeah, I was like, okay, but I'm not gonna I've been at this business so long that I'm like, these opportunities come once in a never. So I was like, I just say yes. And I was playing with some ideas, and I was kind of playing with my own ideas of where I wanted these characters to go. And kind of like what happens to these like couples who marry just at a very young age, or love, or what happens when I have kids in college, and what happens if like my daughter falls in love and she wants to get married, and you want to say don't do that at such a young age, themes like that, that I'd never seen explored in a film. I think at the same time of coming out of COVID, and all of the heaviness that was going on in our world, I said, I just want to make a wild, funny movie.
Now,
Uh,
I
yeah.
I was gonna add was that you don't do too many sequels. I mean the last have
No.
you directed a sequel? I'm not even sure. I think you've written Cruel Intentions too, if I recall.
Little
Yeah.
Intentions 2, to be honest, was a failed TV pilot.
Yeah.
What we made a TV pilot called Manchester Prep, and it we shot the pilot in 2 episodes, and then Fox yanked it for being too inappropriate for TV. And we bought the footage back and recut it and shot 3 days of very, very racy material and called it Cruel Intentions 2. So that's what that was, but it really wasn't a sequel. So I'd never done one, no.
So how did you want to approach something like Beautiful Wedding, following Beautiful Disaster? Did you basically looked at it saying, okay, we should do something similar, or just go, something entirely?
No, I kind of wanted to do it. I mean, without getting too film geeky, there were other films I had loved in my, uh, growing up, like the Four Musketeers, or where they kind of not only did they make a sequel, but they flipped the genre, like Alien to Aliens or anything like that, where it's not only where you're not only telling a sequel, but you're changing the genre. That to me was interesting as a filmmaker. Like I want to do that. I don't want to just continue the story. Um, so that's something that was appealing while remaining true to the characters, and exploring a theme, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Now, was this film in Mexico? Did you have to find a resort for this?
No, we actually filmed it in the Dominican Republic, which is a beautiful country, and it was great to film. But we were trying to remain, true to the culture. So there's a lot of cheating going on, making sure that the look was authentic. So it was a lot of mix and match. But we did find a house in the DR that was our Sancho's little Airbnb.
Hmm. Wow. Now, for you, Roger, why do you love doing rom-coms itself?
Because life's so tough. And I like making people laugh. I mean, I like doing comedies, but sometimes I guess they end up being the romance is involved. So it's more like I like doing comedies, but that's a very pretty cat you got there, Gig.
Thank you.
Um, um, so but at the same time, I guess some of them end up being romance. The tricky part is how do you keep that fresh so the audience isn't figuring it out, you know, before 5 minutes in.
So when speaking of keeping it fresh, so in Beautiful Wedding, I noticed that you sometimes you do many different things to basically add more humor or take a different direction, such as like tell us about the animation sequences that just came out of nowhere for
You
some.
know, I'll be completely truthful. We made this on a we had there was a second unit involved and they were great, but we were on a short amount of days, as that's what you do when you make movies. And when we got back into the editing room, um, we realized that during that sequence that we were missing part of the film, that we were missing Travis's point of view of that part of the that motivated him to lose his mind,
Hmm.
and we were like, oh, damn it. Uh, we got to go back and reshoot, and we were like, oh God, this is going to be expensive, you know? Plus we knew that the strike was coming up. There was a lot of things uh going against us. And I said, this is such a wild movie. Because it's his point of view, we could go animated here. And we were using some animation throughout the film. It's kind of has an anything goes thing. And I said, let's just do it kind of sketch it in, won't cost anything, and let's see if we like it. If we like it, then we'll run with it. If we hate it, then we'll go the tried and true way. And we were like, this is just bananas. But it tells the story. It connects us to why he's losing his kind of mind. And we went with it and we found this really talented animator out of Utah. Um, and we gave him a shot. So
Well, it is certainly creative. In the case, could you tell us about working with Dylan in Virginia again? In this case, and how their how you say romantic chemistry gets developed since the first film.
yeah, I mean, the one of the great things about being on location is you kind of especially in Bulgaria during COVID, is you have you're hanging out with each other all the time. You're going out to dinner and you kind of become a family. So I got to know them and I got to know their strengths as actors, and they all became very tight and very comfortable with each other. Meanwhile, they're both in relationships, and they were both. I think I can say this now because it's public. They both got married last year. So they were both talking about their weddings and both, uh, so we'd hang out with their fiancés or all that. So once there's a familiarity there, you could kind of explore, it just seemed like this was the obvious way to go. Um, and how can we kind of go in a different direction you hadn't seen before in a movie, In terms of a sequel, it's usually like a year later. I was like, well, I wanted to do it right away. And because I was writing it under a timetable, I wanted to kind of limit the world. So like, well, let's just give it a time frame of like 72 hours, so to speak. Um, so I didn't have to deal with passage of time or anything like that. um, and get them in very, bizarre situations. Fortunately, I also worked with a wonderful intimacy coordinator, Corinne Evans, on the first film. And I said, brought her back, and I said, but we're going to do something different on this one. We're going to change the genre.
Mm.
Uh, I want to get out of any kind of romance or eroticism and more into comedic stuff that I used to do when I was kind of being mentored by the Farrelly brothers.
Wow. And is there a possibility of a third film down the road?
That would be entirely up to my bosses, um, probably based on the success of this. So I hope so. I mean, I love working with this cast. They're just fun and they riff off each other well. And I think there's more stories to be told, you know. But so I'm game. I'm just sitting at home right now, gig.
Me too.
Right?
So, so we both have that in common. Um, Roger, one last thing. I know. Cruel Intentions is a cult favorite amongst a lot of people, and people love that type of
Yeah,
thrill story. But it seems like you moved on to like romance and comedy and such. Would you ever return to that type of subgenre of Cruel Intentions, sort of like?
I would in a heartbeat. I'm always looking for that idea, absolutely. It's a Cruel is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year. It's not for lack of trying. Yeah, it's challenging because I think there are great new kind of diverse voices that need to explore that. So, but if something comes around, where I think I can contribute, I'm definitely game.
Most excellent. Well, Roger, thank you very much for speaking to us about Beautiful Wedding itself.
Thank you.
I mean, it is. I do have to admit, it is a very funny movie, and it was throwing me off left and right. So,
Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
hey, thank you. Appreciate it. Bye
Yeah,
now.
you too.